Heartwarming twist. Dad sacrifices job for stranger, discovers she's the CEO who transformed his. Jack's heart raced as he watched the unfolding scene on the highway. A car lay crumpled among shattered glass, flanked by alarmed onlookers. He could be kept driving. He could be focused on the overtime his family desperately needed. Instead, the whisper of humanity tugged at him, urging him to pull over. Every stubborn ounce of his morality overruled his empty pockets. As he approached the wreck, he saw her. Emma lay there, pain etched across her face, eyes fluttering like a trapped butterfly. Jack knelt beside her, feeling his pulse pound in his ears. "Hang in there, help is coming," he murmured, his voice a soothing balm. He had never met her, this wounded stranger, but she seemed to embody the hope he had been searching for in a life smothered by despair. Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice trembling like leaves in the breeze. "Because we need each other," he replied, sensing a connection between them, a bond stronger than fate. In the following weeks, while Emma healed, Jack found himself spending countless hours in her company. Laughter flickered between them like sparks. He filled the air around her with jokes, lightening the somberness that life had thrust upon them both. For Jack, these moments offered a temporary escape from his endless worries of bills cascading like a waterfall. But guilt gnawed at him. Each chuckle felt like a theft from his family. Was it right to focus on this stranger when his own children needed him? Just then, he stumbled upon Emma's true identity. The CEO, head of a company dedicated to uplifting underprivileged towns. It felt surreal, as if he was threading a dream of invention and possibility. "Jack, your spirit is infectious," Emma remarked one day, her eyes sparkling with admiration. "You've got a vision for this community, don't you?" Blushing, he hesitated. "A workshop, a place where folks can learn to start their own businesses." As he spoke, he could see Emma's mind racing, calculating impacts and potentials. Yet he felt his aspirations deflating, as if each word were a balloon bursting in the air. "Great idea!" she exclaimed. Yet that enthusiasm withered when she decided she wanted to invest in his dream, a wave that crashed hard against the conservative shores of their small town. The locals were skeptical, whispers swirling like a storm. His estranged brother Blake, who viewed Jack's ambitions as a betrayal, elevated tensions. "You've changed, Jack? Chasing dreams instead of staying grounded." Their family gatherings turned explosive, each encounter fraying old wounds. At a particularly rough gathering, emotions erupted like a boil. "You're risking everything for what? A pretty face who doesn't belong here?" Blake's words cut deep. Jack stared out the window, heart pounding, pulse racing. What had he become? Was he losing his roots for this chance at better? As silence loomed heavy, he realized he was caught in a storm between ambition and loyalty. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Through it all, Jack found himself standing at a crossroads, the weight of his choices pressing down harder than he could bear. The sun dipped on the horizon, casting long shadows of uncertainty. But as he looked down the road of his small town, he felt something shift. Hope took root despite the tension swirling around him. Sometimes, he thought, the hardest sacrifices lead to the most profound changes. How would he navigate this maze of loyalty, ambition, and newfound connection? With the town's acceptance hanging by a thread, Jack knew he had a decision to make that could change everything. Jack's thoughts churned as he stepped out of his brother's house, still ringing with the echoes of their argument. The night air was cool against his skin, a sharp contrast to the heat of their rising tempers. He glanced back at Blake through the window. The old family home, once a sanctuary, now felt like a cage, each room filled with memories of better days but also shadows of discontent. The familiar creak of the porch beneath his feet felt bittersweet, lost in the fog of his doubts. Then it hit him: the workshop. How could he abandon that vision? It wasn't just a dream. It was a lifeline for so many people in their town, struggling to make ends meet. Could he really turn his back on that for fear of what others might think? He took a deep breath, the crisp night air clearing some of the confusion from his mind. The determination began to swell within him, stirring a dormant fire. Seeing Emma's hopeful face every day gave him strength. She believed in him; her unwavering faith was a beacon. He slid into his truck, the engine rumbling to life beneath him, a raw and hungry sound. As he drove, headlights slicing through the night, he thought of the passion Emma shared in their conversations. Her enthusiasm had fueled his own. Perhaps he was allowed to embrace that, despite Blake's harsh words. Jack had always been the cautious one. He'd played it safe. But safety had brought him to a standstill, and this was different. For the first time in ages, he felt like he could break through the invisible walls that confined him. He could feel change stirring in the air, almost tangible. As he rounded a corner, he spotted an old, dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town. Its forlorn appearance tugged at him. It could be the very place where his workshop transformed lives. Jack pulled over, his heart racing with possibilities. He envisioned the walls painted bright, laughter echoing through the halls, people learning, creating, dreaming. The sight lit a fire in his chest, sparking something he hadn't felt in years. Deciding to take the leap, he grabbed his phone and dialed Emma's number. It rang only once before she answered, her voice crackling with excitement. "Jack. You called." "Emma, I have an idea," he said, the words tumbling out in a rush. He told her about the warehouse, how he could envision the space, and the potential it had to uplift the community. He could almost hear her smiling through the phone. "This is huge," she exclaimed. "We need a plan, we need a team. This could be transformative." But even as he shared his enthusiasm, a knot twisted in his stomach. Jack remembered Blake's words, his skepticism clinging to him like clingy ivy. "But what if they don't want this? What if I fail? What if I can't pull it off?" "Jack, stop. You can't think like that," Emma interjected, her tone firm yet gentle. "You've felt the pain and the struggle. You are part of this community. You have every right to dream." Her faith flooded through him, washing away fragments of doubt. The fear still lurked in the corners of his mind, but the warmth of hope started to bloom within him. Maybe it didn't matter what Blake thought or any of the others. Maybe the only voice he truly needed to listen to was his own. "I'll meet you there tomorrow," he said, determination hardening his voice. "Let us take that first step." As he hung up, he felt lighter, as though the burdens had partially lifted. But he also knew the hardest part was yet to come. The road ahead wouldn't just be a walk in the park, it could spark challenges he never anticipated. What would it take to rally the town behind him? Would people join him in this endeavor, or would he remain a lone wolf wandering the wild? Jack's mind raced with questions. And as he turned the truck back toward home, one thing became clear: the next chapter of his life was about to unfold, and he was determined to embrace whatever came his way. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching, ready to tip the balance between failure and success. What hidden forces were at play? The next morning arrived with the sky painted in shades of peach and lavender. Jack sipped his coffee while gazing out the kitchen window, the steam rising like his hopes for the day. He replayed last night's conversation with Emma, her belief in him igniting a spark that felt almost electric. Despite the early hour, his heart raced with anticipation. Today was the day he would take action. He pulled on his favorite work boots, the ones that still had remnants of tarmac and paint from his father's old projects. They were his armor, grounding him to the dream he was about to chase. As he walked to his truck, the crisp breeze invited a sense of renewal. Each step felt purposeful, and he refused to think of anything but the possibilities ahead. He met Emma at the warehouse. The place looked even more daunting in the daylight. Broken windows yawned like mouths ready to speak stories of forgotten dreams. The structure had seen better days, but Jack felt its kindred spirit resilience wrapped in decay. Emma was already pacing back and forth outside, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, a whirlwind of energy. "Jack! You made it!" Emma greeted, her excitement palpable. "Are you ready?" "Yeah, let us do this," he replied, feeling his trepidation fall away slightly with her enthusiasm. With a shared glance of determination, they stepped inside the warehouse. Dust motes danced in the sunlight that filtered through the grimy windows, illuminating the vast emptiness. Jack could almost hear the laughter and chatter that could fill the air once again. "Imagine this space with tables for workshops, art hanging on the walls, maybe even a cafe area," Emma said, gesturing animatedly. "The possibilities are endless." As they walked further in, Jack felt the weight of his fears creep back in. "But will people really come? What if it's not enough?" he admitted. His voice wavered as old doubts stirred. Emma paused, her expression shifting to something more serious. "Jack, nobody starts off perfect. The first step is often the hardest, but the only way to fail is not to try. Remember, you're doing this for them, for all of us." Her words sank deep within him, but just as inspiration flickered, the ominous whisper of self-doubt threatened to drown it out. The warehouse, with its peeling walls and broken floors, started to feel like a mirror reflecting his own insecurities. Suddenly, amidst the clutter, something caught his eye: a vintage toolbox, battered but sturdy. It was an emblem of possibility, and as he picked it up, the memories flooded back. His father had used these tools to build everything from birdhouses to furniture. Jack's heart swelled with pride and nostalgia. "I want to fix this place up," he declared, clutching the toolbox like a lifeline. "We can make it a space where stories are built and shared." Feeling newfound courage, they spent the day sketching plans and taking notes on everything they needed. It was exhilarating, and Jack felt the warmth of hope coursing through him. In the midst of their brainstorming, his phone buzzed with a message. It was from Blake, short and critical as always. "You really think you can change that place? You're wasting your time." Frustration bubbled within Jack, but Emma placed a hand on his shoulder. "Let his words slide off your back. You're the one taking action here." With her support, he navigated the doubts, but that night, as he laid in bed, the flicker of self-doubt returned. What if he was still wrong? What if Blake was right? Would this be another futile attempt? As he slept, shadows loomed larger, his dreams spiraling into uncertainty. The next morning, something felt off. A worn-out letter was slid under his front door, something about an upcoming town meeting. Curiosity gnawed at him. The meeting had the potential to change everything. Could this be the moment they needed? But as he read the fine print, a chill ran down his spine. The meeting would address community projects, and it was headed by someone he never expected, someone who might just hold his future in her hands. Who was this mysterious figure, and how would her presence alter his path? Jack stared at the letter with wide eyes, his heart pounding against his ribs. The name at the bottom was unmistakable: Marissa Hale. As a teenager, he had idolized her while she was still making her mark as a local architect before moving to the city and climbing the corporate ladder. Now she was a CEO, known for her vibrant designs that transformed communities and lives. Could it really be her organizing the meeting? The thought sent a rush of hope, but it also made his stomach twist. He had followed her career from a distance, never imagining their paths would cross like this. Would she even remember the shy kid who used to admire her work back when he was building birdhouses with his dad? "Jack?" Emma's voice cut through his thoughts, pulling him back to reality. "What is it?" He held up the letter, his fingers trembling slightly. "It's Marissa Hale is in charge of the meeting for community projects." He felt the weight of his words hang in the air, a mix of excitement and anxiety. Emma's eyes danced with curiosity. "She's amazing. If anyone can help us, it's her. You should go, Jack. This could be the chance we need." Her encouragement enveloped him like a warm blanket, but doubt still loomed large. What if she thinks it's a ridiculous idea? What if she wants nothing to do with a rundown warehouse? "Then you show her what it could be," Emma replied, her tone unwavering. "You've got to believe in your vision like you always tell me." Jack nodded, but deep inside, The hesitant whispers continued to echo. He thought back to Blake's message, those piercing words scratching against his resolve. He struggled to shake off the negativity, holding on to that toolbox he found yesterday, a symbol of potential. The day of the meeting arrived, and he nearly backed out. The fear of failure clung to him like a second skin. But Emma's cheerful pep talk on the way there breathed life into his courage. "Just remember, it's not just about you," she had said. "This is for everyone who needs a place to connect. They deserve this, and so do you." As he entered the community center, the air buzzed with chatter. Names floated around him, familiar yet foreign, all eager to improve their neighborhood, inspired by Marissa's vision. Jack took a deep breath, reminding himself of why he was there. When Marissa stepped onto the small stage, her presence radiated confidence. Her eyes sparkled as she shared her dreams for revitalizing their community, transforming neglected spaces into vibrant hubs. Watching her talk about crafting futures and fostering connections felt surreal, wrapping around his heart like a comforting embrace. "All right, everyone," she announced, "let's make our community a place where everyone can thrive." With each word, Jack felt a mix of admiration and determination welling up inside him. This was the moment. As the meeting progressed, Jack found himself surrounded by passionate voices, each person sharing their vision as he held his breath, knowing he would have to present his idea soon. Emma had nudged him forward during a quiet lull, her faith bolstering his shaky confidence. He cleared his throat, and their gaze turned to him. I have an idea about a space we can turn into a work and community hub. It's a warehouse that needs a lot of love, but I believe it can become a heartbeat for the neighborhood." The room fell silent, every eye watching him. And then he caught Marissa's gaze. She was listening. As he continued describing the plans Emma and he had created, a flicker of recognition passed over her features. "That sounds intriguing," she said, tilting her head. "Tell me more." Jack couldn't tell if it was excitement or disbelief that surged within him, but he pressed on, the knot of fear loosening with every word. He realized that doubt still lingered, but hope began to outshine it. After the meeting, several people approached him, eager to share their own ideas and how they could help. It was exhilarating. And there was Marissa, too, weaving through the crowd, encouraging everyone to collaborate. Just as Jack was about to buckle under the weight of it all, she paused near him. "I loved your passion for that warehouse idea. It's important to reimagine our spaces. We need places where people gather and create community." "Thank you," he managed to say, warmth flooding through him. In that moment, it no longer mattered what Blake had thought. This was his path, and it felt right. But then, just as she began to walk away, she turned back. "I'd love to discuss this further. Could we meet for coffee later this week?" Jack could hardly contain his astonishment. "Yes. Absolutely." As he watched her join a group of other attendees, he remembered the toolbox he'd lifted from that deserted warehouse. He was beginning to feel like he could really fix things, not just the building, but perhaps something inside himself. But just as joy swelled in his chest, another unexpected message chimed on his phone. It was from Blake again, and it chilled his heart. "Remember the past, Jack? Some dreams belong in the dust." Was this really just the beginning, or would the shadows of doubt chase him down when he least expected it? Jack stared at his phone, Blake's words hanging like a storm cloud above him. The excitement from the meeting with Marissa felt fragile, like a soap bubble just waiting to pop. He wanted to be happy, to celebrate how far he had come in just a few hours. But those chilling words pulled him back, twisting his stomach in knots. "Jack!" Emma's voice broke through his tumultuous thoughts. She grabbed his arm, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Did you hear what Marissa said? You have to believe in yourself." Her energy was infectious, a bright light that pushed against the shadows of doubt creeping in. I know. But he hesitated, searching for the right way to express the fear gnawing at him. "Blake, he always reminds me of what I used to be. What if I'm just kidding myself? Ditch that negativity. You've got this." Emma insisted, her grip tightening. "You're not that kid anymore, Jack. You've got vision, you've got potential, And you have Marissa back in your life. He nodded slowly, but worry still churned inside him. What if this still wasn't enough? What if whatever flame he felt inside fizzled out? Later that week, Jack sat in a small, cozy cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee floating around him. His palms were sweaty, heart rate quickening as he felt the weight of uncertainty settle like a heavy blanket. Marissa would arrive any minute now, and he suddenly questioned everything. Did he really have a vision worth sharing? As if sensing his turmoil, Emma messaged him just then, "Breathe, remember your passion. You can do it." Moments later, Marissa walked through the door, her confident stride drawing the attention of everyone in the room. She spotted Jack instantly, and her warm smile erased some of his anxiety. He could still feel that spark from their earlier meeting, the flicker of hope ignited by her words. "Hey, Jack," she greeted, settling into the seat across from him. "I'm delighted we could meet." "Thanks for coming," he replied, forcing a smile. The conversation flowed easily at first, talking about the community projects, the vision for revitalization, and their mutual desire to create unified spaces. But then she leaned in slightly. "You really have something special with your warehouse idea, Jack. I see potential there. But here's the thing." Marissa paused, her expression thoughtful. "What do you really want to achieve? What's your end goal?" Sinking into his thoughts, the question sparked the fear he had pushed aside. What if his aspirations weren't valid? What if he was just a dreamer? "I want that place to become a hub for creativity, a safe haven for people to connect," he said, every word fighting to break free. "But I don't know if I'm the right person to pull it off." Marissa's brow furrowed. "You're here. You're already moving forward." The conviction in her voice ignited a flicker of that same excitement he had felt at the meeting. But before he could respond, the faint buzzing of his phone caught his attention. He glanced down to see yet another message from Blake. "Time will show the truth. And it's often not what we hope." Jack's heart sank. How could he share this moment of possibility when these seeds of doubt plagued him? "You okay?" Marissa's voice pierced through the fog of his thoughts, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, just an old friend," he said, swallowing back the insecurity. But doubt laced his tone, and he felt Marissa's gaze drill into him, seeking the truth. Hours passed, and the conversation deepened, spiraling into discussions about community and dreams. Just as Jack began to feel lifted, to believe in his vision again, Marissa brought it back around. "So, Jack," she said, her voice steady, "can I count on you to lead this project? To inspire others?" His mouth went dry. What if he failed? What if Blake was right? But years of idolizing Marissa swirled through him like a whirlwind. "Yes, I'd love to. I want to do this," he managed, though doubt still lingered in the background like a shadow clinging to the light. "Great!" she beamed. "Then let us start putting this dream into action." The words felt monumental, but vibrations of reality hummed beneath them. As he left the cafe, the weight of responsibility pressed on his shoulders. The thought of stepping forward brought swirling excitement and overwhelming fear. Jack knew the shadows were still there, and the battle within raged on. With every step, he felt both exhilarated and terrified, as if he stood on the edge of a new cliff. What awaited him on the other side? Would he find strength there or fall to the weight of doubt? The moment of truth was creeping closer, and he wasn't sure if he was ready. But one thing was certain, he had to confront his past. Would he be willing to let it go, or would it grip him like chains? The next few days after the cafe felt like a blur. Jack dove into preparations for the project, his heart alternating between hope and fear. Every morning, he'd wake up excited, only to be hit by a wave of uncertainty before he could even finish his coffee. He worked tirelessly, poring over blueprints and drawing up plans, but there was always a nagging doubt in the back of his mind. As the deadline approached for his initial presentation with Marissa and their team, Jack found himself second-guessing every idea he had. He spent hours refining his pitch, but as soon as he thought he was ready, that familiar voice crept in, "What if they see you for who you really are?" On the day of the presentation, his palms were slick with sweat. The conference room filled with faces, some eager, some skeptical. Marissa sat at the head of the table, offering him an encouraging smile that briefly flickered warmth into his racing heart. Jack stood at the front, a trembling stack of notes in hand, feeling vulnerable and exposed. As he began to speak, his voice wavered, yet he pushed through the nerves. I believe that our warehouse can be more than just a building. It can be a community hub for creativity, a place for people to connect, share, and grow. He tried to capture their attention, sharing stories of his childhood in the neighborhood, how he had always thought of spaces like this as transformative. But halfway through, he caught a glimpse of Blake's face in the back of his mind, smirking and shaking his head, taunting him. The shadow of doubt wrapped around him tighter, stifling his enthusiasm. Am I just wasting their time? He thought. The words felt heavy in his throat. Marissa leaned forward, breaking his spiral. Jack, what you're saying is powerful. Your vision connects deeply with what we need. He locked eyes with her, searching for reassurance, but the weight of his self-doubt loomed even larger in her presence. Taking a deep breath, he pressed on, speaking from the heart about the experiences that shaped him. He referenced struggles others might face, the need for a safe space where their voices could be heard. The passion began to seep through again, filling the room with a sense of urgency. As he wrapped up, there was a silence. Jack felt exposed, as if his every vulnerability had been laid bare for judgment. Just as he expected the disappointed response that mirrored his own insecurity, Marissa stood up and clapped. This is exactly the kind of energy we need. One by one, others joined in, their applause growing until the sound enveloped him. Relief washed over Jack, finally piercing through the lingering self-doubt that had haunted him since that first message from Blake. Marissa's enthusiasm was infectious, and it ignited something deep within him. Let us get to work, she said, excitement dancing in her eyes. You've given us a vision, and now we take it to the next level. Jack's heart soared. After the meeting, as people began to filter out, Marissa approached him, a smile still brightening her face. I knew you had it in you, Jack. You just needed to tap into that fire. Before he could respond, another familiar buzz interrupted. It was Blake again. Don't celebrate just yet. They'll leave you high and dry when times get tough. The bitterness of the words tugged at Jack's heart, but he chose not to reply this time. Instead, he focused on Marissa, who continued with, I believe in second chances. Everyone deserves the opportunity to change. Her words struck him in a way he hadn't expected. Perhaps this project was more than just a career opportunity. It was a chance to redefine himself, to show not just others, but also himself, that he was more than what his past had dictated. As evening fell and Jack stepped into the cool night air, a sense of resolve settled within him. His heart still raced, but instead of fear, it was fueled by determination. Now, he faced a new question: would he keep moving forward, embracing the privilege of a second chance, or let old fears pull him back into the shadows? One thing was clear: he'd have to dive deep into his past if he wanted to emerge unbroken on the other side. And the thought was daunting, yet somehow exhilarating. The first rays of dawn splashed across the sky as Jack sipped his coffee, eyes fixed on the blueprints sprawled out across his kitchen table. His heart fluttered with a newfound sense of purpose. The past few days had reshaped him, and now he felt that he was touching something bigger than himself, a chance to create, to connect, to belong. The uncertainty didn't vanish completely, but it transformed into a quiet resolve. Marissa was bright and determined, embodying the kind of spirit that was infectious. They had set a date to meet later that week to finalize the proposals and dig deeper into the project. Jack fidgeted with anticipation, imagining how they'd bring their shared vision to life. This workspace wasn't just about building a place. It was about building community, forging pathways for dreams that had previously seemed unreachable. As he started drafting ideas for workshops and events, the phone buzzed beside him. It was Blake again, his ever-present shadow. This won't last. People will see you for what you are. Each message was a reminder of his past failures and a return to the nagging dread Jack thought he had shed. But instead of letting Blake's negativity settle in, Jack tossed the phone across the table, the action feeling oddly satisfying. He gathered his notes and headed to the community center that was an integral part of his childhood. The old building, weathered but still standing strong, held memories of laughter and shared moments. As Jack walked through its doors, the familiar musty scent enveloped him. He was back in a place where he could envision change. He stood in the main hall, visualizing colorful banners hanging from the ceiling, chairs set for people eager to share their stories, experts to ignite their passions. This was where his heart was among those who felt like outsiders but shared dreams just waiting to be uncovered. With each idea he wrote down, Jack felt lighter, more in tune with who he wanted to be now. But just as quickly as the excitement ignited, the voice of doubt crept back in. What if it's still not enough? What if they laugh? He spun around, searching for reassurance in the half-empty room. Then something caught his eye. A group of youth gathered in the corner, discussing animatedly. Their laughter bounced off the walls, a stark reminder that even in uncertainty, joy could thrive and bring warmth into cold places. Jack walked over, joining their conversation about their aspirations. The energy was palpable. These kids were dreamers, unpolished but honest in their hopes. They reminded him of himself, years ago, standing with the same fire in his belly but lacking someone to fan the flames. When Jack shared his vision for the warehouse, their eyes sparkled with possibilities. Their enthusiasm rekindled his belief in a brighter future, one birthed from the community and driven by compassion and creativity. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting golden rays through the windows, Jack felt that he was no longer just preparing for a presentation or a project. He was part of something meaningful. The seeds of transformation had been planted. Later that night, as he lay in bed, he found himself contemplating the future. Would he keep pushing through the doubts, the fears, and even Blake's cold, hard cynicism? He glanced at his phone to see another message from Blake. So naive, Jack. This will never happen. But instead of feeling drained, he smiled. Each word only fueled his determination. Closing his eyes, he envisioned the community center alive with laughter and connection. This was his path. The question now was, would he have the courage to trek into the valleys of his past, face the shadows that lingered, and come out the other side transformed? With a steady breath, he whispered to himself, I will. But tomorrow would bring new challenges, and as he steeled himself for what lay ahead, he felt that familiar thrill of fear and hope. What if this time, he could silence the whispers? What if he could really change everything? Jack woke up the next morning with the sun spilling through his curtains, illuminating the room and bringing with it the promise of a fresh start. As he stumbled out of bed, the crispness of the air seemed to invigorate him. Today was the day he planned to meet Marissa, and the excitement bubbled within him. He dressed quickly, the blueprints still fresh in his mind, tracing their lines and possibilities as he made his way to the community center. As he drove, his heart raced with each passing block. Memories flooded him of the countless hours spent in that building, how many lives had intersected within those walls. He could still hear the echoes of laughter and the whispers of dreams. Jack's fingers drummed on the steering wheel, reminding him that he wasn't just planning, he was stirring the pot of community. Arriving at the center, Jack felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. He stepped inside, the smell of old wood and fresh paint mingling in the atmosphere. He had been putting in time painting and repairing the space, and now it almost felt like an extension of himself. Today, he was ready to breathe life into it. Marissa arrived a few moments later, her energy brightening the room. The way she smiled sent hopeful tremors through his body. Jack, I can't wait to hear about your ideas, she exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious as they settled at a large round table covered with sketches and sticky notes. As they discussed their vision for the community center, Jack felt the doubts begin to fade. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, each idea building on the last. Marissa's insights were sharp, and her passion for the project lit fire in him. They brainstormed about workshops that would cater to everyone, the parents, seniors, and most importantly, the youth who were so eager to engage. But just as everything seemed to fall perfectly into place, Jack's phone buzzed again. With reluctance, he picked it up and found another message from Blake. "You think this chick cares? She'll leave you hanging like everyone else." Jack grimaced, his momentary cheer clouded by Blake's words. But before he could sink into that familiar pit of doubt, he looked at Marissa, who was sharing her vision of a music night to connect aspiring musicians. Her eyes sparkled with determination. "Tell me about your best concert experience," Jack asked, trying to steer the focus back to the positivity brewing in the room. Marissa took a breath and launched into a story about a local band that had given their all for the community. Her passion electrified the air around them. As her words painted a vibrant picture, Jack felt a renewed spirit in himself. It wasn't just about their proposals anymore. This was about creating memories for everyone who stepped through those doors. As the hours slipped by, Jack and Marissa sketched out blueprints of a future he had once only dreamed of. They mapped out a community festival, interactive workshops for every age, mentoring programs, and a safe haven for forgotten dreams to flourish. When it was time to wrap up, Jack felt a sense of purpose settle within him. "Let us meet again tomorrow, same time? I think we're just scratching the surface here," he suggested. "Absolutely." Marissa grinned, and that smile lit up his world. That evening, when he returned home, he felt buoyant. The shadows of doubt felt further away than they had in ages. But as he lay in bed, Blake's words drifted back into his mind. They lingered like a storm cloud. What if it all fell apart? What if he had set himself up for failure again? He rolled over, wrestling with the emotions. But deep within, something had changed. He was not the same person who had started this journey. With renewed determination, he closed his eyes, whispering, "I can do this." But would his courage hold out against the whispers of doubt? As he stirred awake the next morning, a clenching fear gripped him. What if today brought the storm? What if the people he hoped to inspire never showed up? Was he strong enough to face whatever the world would throw at him, especially with Blake lurking in the background? Jack sat at the edge of his bed, the early morning light creeping through the blinds, casting stripes across the floor. His stomach knotted with anxiety, heavy as lead. Today was the day he was set to present more finalized ideas to Marissa, and he had to face the truth lurking in the corners of his mind. What if this didn't work? What if the community didn't care, just like Blake said? Shaking off the thoughts, he jumped into a quick shower, the water washing over him like a fresh start. He dressed and headed out the door, determined to push aside the fears that threatened to overshadow his excitement. The drive to the community center felt longer today, each traffic signal testing his patience. A soft hum from the radio filled the silence, mingling with his restless thoughts. When he arrived, a wave of nostalgia washed over him as he stepped into the familiar space. The smell of paint still lingered, mingled now with the scent of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen. Jack inhaled deeply, his resolve settling into place. This was his sanctuary, a hub for change, and today, he wanted to breathe life into it. Marissa was already there, her bright smile greeting him like a beacon. "Hey, Jack! Ready to dive back in?" she asked, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "Absolutely," he replied, a tentative smile creeping onto his face. Together, they spread their ideas across the large table, flipping through notes and plans. Marissa was particularly excited about a mural project she wanted to launch with local artists, aimed at inspiring creativity while beautifying the center. Each concept they tossed around sparked another, igniting Jack's spirit further. As they broke for lunch, Jack glanced up from his sketchbook. "I really think this could bring people together," he said, his voice gaining strength. "What if we held an open house to showcase all the projects? Encourage more people to share their talents?" Marissa's eyes widened with excitement. "That's it. A showcase event. We could call it the Heart of the Community Festival. Imagine that: live music, art displays, workshops. It could really draw in everyone." Jack felt a swell of pride and a pulse of exhilaration in his chest. They spent the rest of lunch mapping out potential timelines, vendors, and even a call for volunteers. For the first time in ages, he felt lighter, as if the burdens from the past were slipping away with every shared idea. But as the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, the familiar buzz of his phone broke the spell. An incoming message from Blake made his heart sink. "You're wasting your time. No one cares about a festival. You're just going to look stupid again." For a moment, the air in the room shifted, the weight of Blake's words evident in Jack's expression. Marissa noticed. She reached across the table, her hand warm against his. "Don't let him get to you. Look at what we're doing. This matters, and you matter," she said, her sincerity pulling at the corners of Jack's heart. It was in her gaze that he found a resolve he didn't know he still had. "You're right," he said, taking a deep breath. "We have to pour ourselves into this. For everyone who believes in it, and even for those who don't." The spark he felt shifted the room's energy. They were an unstoppable force, working side by side, and suddenly, doubts about Blake's words felt trivial. As the day drifted towards evening, Jack felt a profound change within him. He wasn't just pushing against the whispers anymore. He was letting hope seep into the cracks of his spirit. Marissa stood to gather her things, an unspoken agreement to meet tomorrow lingering in the air. "Do you think anyone will show up if we open the doors for rehearsals?" Jack asked, biting his lip. "I believe they will, Jack. And even if only a few do, we'll make their experience count," she reassured, her confidence infectious. Jack nodded, finding comfort in her belief. But as he drove home that night, the storm cloud remained ready to unravel in the back of his mind. What if his past haunted him again? What if he was destined for failure? After all? As he parked and stepped inside his home, he couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead of him. Would he have the courage to shield his dreams from Blake's shadows? And would the community stand behind them, even when the tide turned against him? With that uncertain thought echoed in his mind, he fell asleep, a flicker of hope battling with fear as night fell. The day of the heart of the community festival arrived, and the sun shone bright in a cerulean sky perfect for a celebration. Jack felt the familiar whirl of nerves mixed with excitement as he pulled into the community center's parking lot, now bustling with activity. Colorful banners danced in the gentle breeze, while laughter and chatter bubbled around him like a sweet symphony of hope. He stepped out of his truck, absorbing the lively atmosphere that thrummed with anticipation. Music floated through the air, and he could see vendors setting up their booths, each table adorned with local crafts and delicious treats. A mixture of families, children, and spirited teenagers filled the space with energy that flickered like a flame. Jack's heart raced. There was no place he would rather be. As he made his way inside to help finalize preparations, a wave of gratitude washed over him. They had come so far, he had come so far. Emma appeared, her eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "Jack! It's happening!" She grabbed him by the arm, and they rushed back to the main hall, checking on the last-minute arrangements. Everywhere he turned, volunteers busily engaged in sharing their skills and talents, bonding over their common purpose. As he helped set chairs and organize the stage, Jack caught a glimpse of Marissa talking with a group of community members. Each smile she shared ignited his confidence. Her unwavering belief in their mission was a powerful reminder of what they were trying to create together. But just as his excitement began to swell, the little storm cloud of doubt crept back into his mind. What if no one showed? What if the day fell flat? Would Blake's words echo again the feeling of inadequacy, of being foolish for dreaming so boldly? "Hey," Emma said, sensing his hesitation, "you can do this. We all believe in you." Her voice was steady and sure, cutting through the fog of doubt. Jack turned to her, gratitude swelling in his chest. "Thanks, Emma. I just can't shake the feeling that everything hangs in the balance. If it flops, I'll be back where I started." "No," she replied firmly, "you're not that person anymore. Remember? You found your voice and purpose." He took a deep breath, letting her words settle within him. They were true. He had faced demons, pushed boundaries, and stepped into a brighter version of himself. Today needed to be about more than fear. It had to be a celebration of community, hope, and connection. As guests began to filter in, the energy transformed into a joyful roar. Families greeted one another, old friends reunited, and children ran excitedly filled with dreams for the day. Jack moved through the crowd, embracing familiar faces and new connections alike. Before he knew it, it was time for the opening ceremony. Marissa stepped onto the stage, her confidence radiating like a beacon. "Welcome, everyone! Today marks a fresh beginning for our community," she announced, her voice weaving through the air. Jack stood at the front, heart racing but eyes shining. As she passed the mic to him, his heart thundered against his ribs. "Hey, everyone! I'm Jack," he began, his voice trembling but strong. "This festival is for all of us to connect, share, and celebrate our dreams. We may come from different paths, but together we can create something incredible." He glanced across the crowd, spotting familiar faces, including Emma cheering him on, and even seeing Blake standing off to the side, an inscrutable expression on his face. Jack's voice steadied, fueled by the warmth of that gaze. "Every one of you has the potential to uplift this community. Let today mark the starting point for our dreams to come alive." As he stepped back, applause roared through the air. Jack felt a weight lift off him, a release of fears that had clung for far too long. The festival unfolded in a whirlwind of laughter, art, music, and joy. Throughout the day, Jack joined in, working alongside the people he had come to admire and love. The warehouse sparkled with activity, creativity overflowed onto the walls. Classes began, laughter echoed, smiles filled the room, and new friendships sprung up like flowers after rain. When the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, the festival hit a high note with a local band playing songs that resonated through the hearts of everyone present. Jack stood amidst the crowd, feeling a sense of fulfillment that washed over him like warm sunshine. In that moment, he glanced around and realized that the whispers no longer held power over him. The community stood united, embracing a beautiful tapestry woven from every individual's dreams and aspirations. But when his phone buzzed again, Jack almost didn't look. He hesitated, but the truth was, he was stronger now. He unlocked it calmly, certainty coursing through him. It was Blake, and the message read, "Looks like you pulled it off this time." Jack smiled, his heart swelling. He hit reply, "We're just getting started." As the music swelled around him, Jack took a moment to let it all sink in. He had transformed. This was more than just a festival. It was a pivotal point in his journey toward embracing who he was meant to become, free from the shadows of his past. Life had suddenly become as vibrant as the colors surrounding him, and the shadows that used to cling so tightly began to fade away. And this was only the beginning. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories that inspire hope and transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the journey we're all on together. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this incredible conclusion. It's time to share what's in your heart. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and feel the power of community. We're in this together.